All right, so some of you guys have been playing with the pen tool a little bit in your graphic design journeys, but I'm going to show you real quick how it can be used to kind of trace other images to make your life a little easier. So I'm going to come in here to my pen tool, and I'm going to work my way around the elephant. And eventually, I'll be able to turn it into blue. What you have to understand really is where you can pull curves up and where you need a straight line. You don't want a million anchor points. Notice I'm even going in through the elephant to these curved areas where I know I can pull those out. It really does not take all that much. And some of these straighter areas you can line up with, like so. I would recommend, before you are finished, to come over and change your opacity of your fill or turn the fill off so you can see what you're doing. And I'm actually going to turn my fill into a different color. There we go. That way I can still see the shape underneath without playing guessing games here. And I've purposely picked an image where you're going to have to play with the curves a bit. So we're going to come around just like so. There's a couple different ways you'll be able to pull the curves depending on your preference. And there's something we'll have to address with the back leg in terms of that there negative space. Come up in here, over here, just really taking your time, going around town, not rushing, not clicking with a million anchor points, just enough to get you through. Hope you guys like the sound of the bandsaw. I sure don't. I'm kind of placing my anchor points where I can see the curve ending and starting, so that might work for you as well. And for right now, I am just going to skip over that negative space. We can use minus front for that later. Just still going around. And even this looks okay by itself, but it's not quite as organic. It looks a little blocky. It looks a little pixely, computer generated. We want to get those organic curves back in here soon. Just still going the whole way around. I'm not dragging, just clicking. And I'm going to close that shape. And I have a good start. I like to use the curve tool personally. Another way you can do this is if you zoom in, go to your direct selection, your white arrow, select two anchor points, click on one, hold the shift button, click on the other, and you can convert them. That makes them a curve. I like to use the curve tool because I can literally grab onto a segment and pull it up. So there's lots of ways to get the same result. You really just have to find what works for you. So I'm going to come in and do all these fine details now. I'm just grabbing, and it is adding another anchor point. I can drag specific anchor points that already exist if I need to. But that is how I'm getting these nice curves. Bring that out. Might need to bring this part back in. A little bit here. There we go. You don't want any orange showing. Oops, I just left-clicked and did something weird. That's what happens if you add too many anchor points, my friends. Push that back in. Pull this out to cover. I'll go back and fix that in a minute. I'm going to drag this point down so it matches up with the toe better. Pull this in. Doing the hokey pokey here. Pulling it in and out. Probably need to pull that anchor point down too. There we go. And it really is just a process of paying attention to the details, going slow, and finding the best method that works for you. Sorry, I don't mean to give you whiplash, giving myself whiplash. Rounded it out. For some of those really small shapes like that one I just addressed, you might want to come in even farther and zoom in. You can move your anchor points further down too. And it might make sense to address some areas before others. So the placement of these lines really only makes sense if I relate them to the bottom of the foot. So pull that in, pull this anchor point, just a very slight curve out, very slight curve in. And it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but you should be trying to get as close as possible. And little shapes like these really do count. They make a difference. So don't skimp on those. Getting into the home stretch. Again, I'm kind of going back and forth between adding an anchor point and pushing that curve and moving existing anchor points to kind of get them lined up. I've got more of an inlet here for the trunk, so I'm going to have to pay attention to those details. Move some stuff around. Dragging that out. That's better. Curving this out. Moving this point. Pushing that curve back in. Home stretch. And that's pretty close, honestly. Bring that down just a touch. And back out, there's my elephant, but I still have to address this shape. So I'm going to go ahead and click off there. Pick a different color for my fill. I'm going to do like yellow so I can see pretty easily what I'm doing. Back to my pen tool, click, 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 and click. Zoom in. Okay, so of course I need to adjust those just a bit. There we go. And I've got that negative shape now in between. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out. I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to turn the stroke off of my elephant and the negative space. And I'm going to select them both. This is on the top. It's in front. So I should be able to go up to Pathfinder, minus front with no problem. That takes that out. I can hide my original layer. And my elephant is done. It's blue. Look at that. Look at that blue elephant. Pretty cool, huh? I want you guys to make your elephant a darker shade of blue, please.